Welcome back to you, television viewers. We're on to the biggest climb of the day, the Kirschbaumer Saddle. And it's Ineos Grenadiers who have done their job now with their main man, Ben Swift. This is Laurens de Plus, the Belgian. Left-hand side, third place last year, now an Ineos Grenadier. Timon Arendsman making his way up onto the wheel of Geraint Thomas, who sits in second place. Further behind, Theo Gegenhardt is there with Pavel Sivakov. On the right-hand side, you can see a few of the Bora Hansgrohe riders, including Leonard Kemner, stage winner here last year, and also a stage winner at the Giro d'Italia. He was also in the winning team as Jai Hindley took the GC. Their names you can reel off the tongue. I've just seen Buitrago, another Giro stage winner last year. So much talent in this group, and this is anybody's race, but it's raced quickly, this, Adam. We saw splits on the descent as well last time, and those who've missed out are probably going to miss out on being involved for the stage win.
Yeah, they're going to have a big job to do to move up here. You can see riders slowly moving up. Simon Carr on the right-hand side there, just trying to move up for EF Education, gets their leader Hugh Carthy. Interesting with the Ineos Grenadiers there, we've got De Plus on the front. If he can go the whole way up this climb, it'll be very impressive. Right on the front, setting this tempo, but he's got Geraint Thomas, who we think might be the leader, tucked in just behind him. And then we've got Sivakov, we've got Arendsman, then Theo Gegenhardt, and then Sivakov. So they're the four leaders, really. Three leaders we're looking at. And at the minute, if we're going to judge on where they're sitting, which sometimes you can do, how far back in the line the leader's sitting, Geraint Thomas' second wheel at the minute, which doesn't say to me he's the team leader. So maybe just trying to get through this race with a little bit more conditioning than results, maybe.
If you look at the history of this race and who they've won it, because they've won it a few times, that team. They've not always necessarily won this race with the rider who's then gone on to be the main sole protective rider at the Giro d'Italia.
Yeah.
Happened a few years ago with Sivakov.
Yeah. As we say, you've still got 2.5 weeks pretty much until the Giro starts. That's a long time. You can do a lot of training in that amount of time to sharpen things up a little bit.
Keep your eye on Sosa in the blue on the left-hand side of the Colombian. Rides from Movistar nowadays. Alexander Vlasov is in here for Bora Hansgrohe, and you would say that if he's at his top form, this is a Giro d'Italia that is made for him as well, because he can time trial, he can climb, and he's going to have a really strong team around him. A couple of riders being dropped out the back from Euskaltel Euskadi. I've just seen Domenico Pozzovivo in here as well for Israel Premier Tech nowadays. 15th Tour of the Alps for him. Of course, he will remember it mostly as Giro del Trentino, now 40 years of age. There's Pernsteiner, the Austrian, just being dropped for Bahrain a little further back. A red jersey
as well. Yeah, I think that's Dylan Toons, maybe a bit further back. Maybe Ben Hermans as well.
Ben Hermans riding this race. Dylan Turn's not involved in racing at the moment. He won't race he didn't race yesterday.
Sorry. My bad.
At the front here, Ineos Grenadiers.
Be interested to see how Harm van Hoeken goes on from DSM. I've not seen him as of yet. There is a DSM rider right in the middle of our screens there, which could be Harm van Hoeken, just sat in the middle of that peloton. A rider that is... He's good at climbing, very good at it, but we've seen him up there with the best, but not on all occasions, really. Theo Gegenhardt moving up on the left-hand side to get with his teammates, but DSM have got a strong team here as well. I mean, you've got Dainese in there, Max Poole, we're going to see how he gets on.
Dainese, a sprint winner at the Giro last year, of course. There is that black jersey of DSM towards the back.
I think that's Van Hoeken there from DSM. There's one just at the front, very tall, rangy rider just there, and I think Van Hoeken is just towards the back of that group a little bit. De Plus doing a very good job here. One of the Trinity riders still there as well. I'm sounding shocked, but he's doing a very good job. As you mentioned, Finlay Pickering, Peter Kenyon bigging him up this morning, so that may be him.
Yeah, a couple of climbers to support him, including Camilo Andres Gomez from Colombia. And Finn Pickering, yeah, they were going to see what he could do in the GC. I mentioned Pozzovivo is smack bang in the middle of this group. Of course, his style, one of those you could see all the way from the space station. You know it's him. He is a top bike rider. Luis Leon Sanchez still in the group as well. In the meantime, just struggling to hold on there for Q36.5. That is Gianluca Brambilla, former Maglia Rosa at the Giro d'Italia. 27 there is Georg Steinhauser of EF Education Easy Post. And 165, one of the Corotec riders. You'll get used to this jersey. For Team Corotec, it's Simone Oliveiro. They, of course, will be riding the Giro. All that work by Laurens de Plus, just bit by bit, is weeding out the weaker riders here, isn't it?
Yeah, they're just getting rid of him slowly but surely. That place at de Plus is just sitting on the front. He's just getting rid of riders slowly but surely, just making this group smaller and smaller and smaller, which ultimately, the smaller the group, the better chance they have of winning. I'm just waiting to see. There's Arensman there. Yep. Interesting, just going back from the Ineos Grenadiers, so that'll be the answer to one less.
And this is Van Hooker.
Rider. Van Hooker going out the back as well. Surprising from Arensman there to be going, I'm not going to say backwards at the minute, but he's gone back from where he was sitting within that formation that the Ineos Grenadiers are forming at the front.
Had a really good race here last year, finishing on the podium. Corvilli dropped, and Arensman with a number 1 on his back. Of course, the defending champion not here, so finishing on the podium, he was given the number 1 this year. Defending champion is Romain Bardet, who this year is preparing for the Tour de France. And Arensman, well, goodbye for now. It's de Plus, it's Thomas. Following him, Sivakov, third wheel. There is Arensman, hanging on for now.
Yeah, I'm just looking in the middle of that group. Yeah, Theo Gegenhardt is still in the middle of that group as well. Simon Carr, EF, just on the top of our screen there, just at the top of the picture. He's still in there along with his team leader, we think, is Hugh Carthy.
That's Mark Donovan towards the back in that silver jersey of Q36.5. Luis Leon Sanchez, another Rolls Royce of a bike rider, the former Spanish champion, racing for Astana, Kazakhstan, but just struggling to hold the wheel there. Gegenhardt, you mentioned, just on the right-hand side of our picture there.
Astana, Kazakhstan as well, going through different sponsors like I've never seen throughout a year. Rid of the Skycon glasses, now they've got rid of Corima wheels, they're on head wheels now.
Arensman not on the best day here. Young Dutch rider shakes his head from Ineos Grenadiers. Tillman Arensman, one of those who's been at an altitude camp in southern Spain. Today is not his day. He is dropped, but his team is looking strong. Luis Leon Sanchez alongside Mark Donovan, the Spaniard and the Brit, just a few metres off the back of what's left of the bunch as well. And it is still Laurens de Plus, the Belgian. We saw him in fine form, didn't we? I remember when he moved to Jumbo-Visma a couple of years ago, and he was in the UAE turn, and he almost gave Primoz Roglic, I think it was, an armchair ride all the way to the finish line in one of the stages in the UAE. He, on his day, can be a fantastically strong rider.
Yeah, went through a couple of rough years when he joined Ineos Grenadiers and never really got going, but he's definitely found his feet now. I mean, he's doing a fine job of getting rid of riders in this group, and it's looks to be working in the favour of them right now. You've still got Geraint just sat on his wheels. Sivakov just sat behind Geraint. One of the Bora riders. Looks to be Kamna, is it? No, it's not Kamna. Apologies.
Well, Kemna's still there. Fabro's there as well. As is Alexander Vlasov. This is Torsten Tren, rider from Norway, from Uno X.
You can see the gradients now, can't you?
Riders desperately moving up, and it's those gradients that's getting to people now. Another group of riders off the back, including Pozzo Vivo. Just distance for the first time. He lacks racing compared to most people, only signing his contract last month.
Fortunato still in there as well, Rob, number 151 from Eolo Cometa.
You know he likes the steep gradients, don't we? The winner of the stage a couple of years ago on Monte Zoncolan. Gegenhardt moves up now to the back of the row. 3 riders there from Bora Hansgrohe, at least 2 from Bahrain. You can see that Hugh Carthy's still in the mix as well in the pink jersey for EF Education Easy Post. 2.1 kilometres still to go in this climb.
Short but sweet, Robin. I mean, it's a short climb, but it's a steep one, as we know, and the damage is being done by the Ineos Grenadiers with De Plus on the front, but it's not going to be easy for anyone on this climb right now. A couple of more riders going backwards. Pozzo Vivo, one of the Trinity Racing riders. De Plus is doing fantastic. It almost looks like he's, I'm going to say accelerating, but he's just held this place. You can see how uncomfortable everyone looks being from behind. Shoulders rocking and rolling ever so slightly.
Sosa still there for Movistar, blue jersey left-hand side. The group gets smaller and smaller, no more than 15 to 20 riders now.
Over the top of here, they've got a small 4K descent as well. Quite a few twists and turns in there. It's a steep one as well, 8% average gradient downhill for them. So it's not the most amount of recovery there. I need for that 6K drag up to the line with that 600 metre steeper section right towards the finish. Just in the last kilometres, it flattens off with 400 metres to go, but 11% for the first 600 metres of the last kilometre.
This is a really good fight by Berwick. Racing for Israel Premier Tech, still looking for that win, aren't they? Cepeda just in front of him, by the way, the Ecuadorian.
Cepeda, 3 of the Bora riders still in there as well. Jack Haig.
He's with Buitrago. And here is Pozzo Vivo. Again with that changed stance on the bike. It's just a miracle that we see him racing again. Testament to how much he loves this sport. 1-2-1 just in front of him is Mikel Vizcarra, the experienced Basque rider. The rider's still there from Asher Desert as well. And it is still Laurens de Plus into the 1.5 final kilometres of this climb.
Yeah, we've finally seen a grimace from her as well there. You can see now maybe just feeling that bite as they get towards the top. You can see Jack Haig moving up an attack from Haig.
Here we go. Jack Haig then back in business. And this is what we've been waiting to see for quite a while. Had a go, didn't he, at Paris-Nice? Didn't quite feel that he was up there. But he's there now, he's having a go. And Jack Haig testing his own form for an assault on the Giro d'Italia.
Great to see Jack Haig there move to the front. I thought there was a little bit of a slowing in the tempo there. It looks to be like De Plus. Nope, De Plus is still going. I thought he'd done, but he's not. But Haig, he's opened up a nice gap so far. It looks to be holding at the minute. Still out the saddle. He's not sat down yet. And the Bora rider's moving up on the right-hand side. Is this going to be a counter-attack from in the peloton from Bora?
Well, Haig there
as well.
And it looks as though that might well be the Plus done now. So it's his Bora Hans going to try and bring this back. And naturally, Buitraga's just going to wait, as you said.
He's in a great position. Let's not forget as well, only a 4-kilometre descent. So Haig isn't going to gain too much, especially if it's on roads like this, which we think it is. A lot of twists and turns.
There's a movement from Cepeda. Sorry, Adam, but Cepeda's there. You could just see Carthy behind him, and Cepeda looks to be coming across the gap well, the Ecuadorian for EF Education Easy Post.
Holy moly.
That is quite the move. Haig looks round, and he has company. And that is a special dart away. I just look back in the group as well. Let's just give him a mention while we can, because you asked what you were waiting to expect from Max Poole. He's still in the group there for DSM, the only black jersey in there. So what can we expect is definitely a good performance.
Definitely a good performance. I mean, if he's still in that group now with the riders that are in that group, he's definitely doing right there. De Plus just still on the black, and for Poole to be in there with the calibre of riders, chapeau.
Well played, the young Brit. Look at this, though, from Cepeda. Alex Cepeda with 12.2 kilometres still to go to the finish line. Into the final kilometre of the penultimate climb of the day. He's looking good. He's looking strong. He has that explosive kick, doesn't he? He's with Jack Haig here. He's from Bahrain Victorious, the Australian, just on the wheel. They've got a little bit of a gap on those behind. If you're just switching on your television, it was Haig who started the move after Laurens de Plus had really thinned out the group for Ineos Grenadiers. He's now starting to lose contact. He's had a great ride today. He's made the start of this race, and we're already seeing the fireworks, as we invariably do on day one in the Tour of the Alps.
Cepeda's doing a great ride here. I mean, the way that he jumped across to that gap, it was like it was on the flat. Just distance Haig ever so slightly. He's not got rid of him, but Haig just sticking to his watts, looking down, trying to ride his own rhythm, not worry too much about Cepeda and the watts that he's putting out, and just try and hold that distance without going into the red zone and blowing up and losing too much time. Sivakov now on the front as well, so that's another answer to our question. Thomas just losing a little bit of ground by the looks of things. Just drop back a few places, maybe just to get a better view. See riders attacking. Gegenhardt now sat in second wheel, with Buitrago just sat third from the Bahrain just behind him.
Now Haig is in a little bit of trouble here. He can't keep the pace with Cepeda. Maybe again, just looks down, maybe right into his own numbers. Cepeda, former national champion of Ecuador, a national champion just as he was turning pro actually, won it really young. And he comes from the same area of Ecuador, high up in the mountains, over 3,000 meters above sea level, the same region as Richard Carapaz.
I'm sure Carapaz is going to be happy watching this with the support he's going to get in the mountains. What we've seen so far of Cepeda, going very well.
No stranger to the Giro d'Italia as well. We've seen him on 3 occasions racing for what was Gianni Savio's old team. No longer in existence as it is as an Italian team. It's now dropped down, hasn't it, and has become a Colombian squad. But Alex Cepeda brought to Europe. Now then, we're getting a reaction, because upping the pace behind is Pavel Sivakov. He has Haig to chase first, but look at Cepeda ride. EF Education easy post, teaching everyone a lesson.
He is teaching everyone a lesson at the minute. He's still got 11 Ks to go. 6K of that is uphill towards the finish line. 4 Ks downhill. But he's doing a fine job at the minute. Interesting with Ineos Grenadiers, Robert, that they've just carried on setting that tempo. They've not sent a rider off to follow the attacks as of yet. They're still quite happy to try and keep things together, try and keep their leader, whoever that is, Gegenhardt, Thomas, by the looks of things, rather than try and just set one off to jump with them.
Well, better news for Jack Haig fans, all your Australian viewers as well. It looks as though he was just right into those numbers, making sure he wasn't in the red. He looks as though he was about to get back on. This group has thinned out even more. 3 riders left from Bora becomes 2. There's Buitrago just sitting on the wheel there of Theo Gegenhardt. Pavel Sivakov, the former winner of this race, riding away the Frenchman with the number 5 on his back. Sosa's still there. Fortunato's climbed well. There's a rider alongside Hugh Carthy for EF Education easy post as well. And there was another rider in there from Agir des Arts Citroën. Last little look back I got with that group. Geraint Thomas, I think, was still just about on the back as well.
Yeah, Geraint Thomas was just on the back of that group. Sivakov doing the work. It's one heck of a group. And still, Rob, we've still got 6K of climb, and it's only 4% average gradient. But it can be hard enough, 4%.
An opportunity here for Vizcarra to try and get back in. There's a rider in front of him. That looks to be Poole. Max Poole, the British rider from DSM, as we head into the final 10 kilometres. Jack Haig on the front. So nice to see him in some sort of form and back and riding well, without the misfortune that has plagued the last couple of years of his career. You think back to the end of last year as well, it was a broken hand in several places, wasn't it, that put him out?
Ooh,
he's a testing roads, but he's taking them on nicely.
He is, yeah, flying down here at the minute, just distancing Cepeda there. Cepeda distancing on the climb now, Haig's distancing on the descent.
Jack Haig, who said very early on, as soon as the route was announced, that he would be targeting the Giro d'Italia this year instead of the Tour. Mikel Landa going to the Tour, much more of a climber's route, isn't it? He'll be taking Peyo Bilbao with him, and of course a Tour de France that begins in the Basque Country, so you can understand them certainly wanting to target that race this year. Giro d'Italia, much more for the all-rounders. 16 seconds, the gap's increasing on this descent because Jack Haig is looking so good in technical terms.
He is, and there'll be a different mentality around this as well, with the riders that are in that group going to the Giro d'Italia probably in a couple of weeks. They'll be like, go hard on the descent, but don't take many risks. Jack Haig's got a sniff of having a stage winner here. Take some risks, push it to the limit a little bit. Let's try and go for this stage winner. As the group behind will be thinking, still got 4 more days of racing after this. Just stay calm. We don't want to do anything stupid. But he's flying. He's going down here quickly.
And wins have come at a premium. Compared to what we expect from him with his talent, wins have come at a premium in his career so far. He's only had 2 pro wins, the last one coming in 2020, just before the pandemic struck, February 2020, in the Vuelta a Andalusia. So he will be desperate to raise those arms again. And in a race like this, against a field like this, full of packed climbers and rivals, and a laydown that he is there and ready to fight for the Giro in a couple of weeks' time.
Yeah, and I think for him, more than anything, it will be a lot of confidence going into the Giro. If he can put in a good performance here, maybe get the stage win today, the confidence he'll take from that going into the Giro will just build him up nicely. Obviously, we've still got 4 days of racing to go, but from what we're seeing now from Jack Haig, brilliant riding.
I think he was quite vocal in his disappointment. It was a really nice assessment of his own performance in Paris-Nice. He was honest that he was disappointed that he wasn't where he wanted to be against Pogacar and Vingegaard in March. It looks as though he's going well here. Firstly, the way he launched his attack, and now the confidence is definitely there, despite the crashes and the injuries, because the way he's taken on this descent. Looks like he's been riding with Pello Bilbao.
Yeah, he is motoring on this descent, that's for sure. Full commitment.
22 seconds now for Jack Haig, the Australian. 7.5 Ks to go.
Getting nice and tucked down in that aero position as well.
Chases
Thomas
on
has got up to the front as well in that Ineos Grenadiers team. Got in front of Theo Gegenhardt. You know, Gegenhardt this year has had an explosive finish on him as well.
I say there are 2 riders in that group from Agile Citroën as well, not just the one that we saw. We expect one of them to be Felix Gall, the Austrian. There's only been one Austrian stage winner here in the last 20-odd years. In a race that nowadays begins or ends in Austria, depending on the year. That was Horst Schattner a couple of years ago. Just under 7 kilometres to go on the opening day of the Tour of the Alps, and Jack Haig is giving himself a big head start for the final climb. He's gone on the penultimate climb, on the steepest gradients. He's distanced the man who attacked with him, Alex Cepeda, and he is motoring down this descent. It's about to kick up, though. 6.4 kilometres now, and it will soon start to climb to the line. He has 24 seconds on a group of really talented riders behind him. But remember that Jack Haig has plenty of that himself. Around 15 are chasing him. 24 seconds of a gap to Group 3. Now, what's his gap to Cepeda? Handful of seconds, you imagine.
Yeah, and the way Cepeda went up this last climb, he was flying up it, there's no doubt about that. This is a different terrain, though, not as steep. We've seen how small Cepeda is. He's absolutely tiny. He's like a miniature hero. He's super strong. The power to weight will play into his hands on that last climb, but this is very different, more of a gentle slope where I think Jack Haig will have maybe not an advantage over him, but more an advantage than he will have had on the last climb. So Haig being out front now, probably an advantage for him rather than Cepeda on this sort of road, especially with that motorbike.
Five and a half Ks to go. Haig settled in. Chase behind
on the front
is now with Geraint Thomas. Geraint Thomas, Pavel Sivakov, Theo Gegenhardt. Then you have Buitrago. A couple of riders from Bora Hansgrohe, including Alexander Vlasov, their main GC leader.
This is what you predicted, Rob. There's no 2 ways about it. Someone that's the leader of the Giro d'Italia never really performs at their very best in this race, and this is maybe what we're seeing now from Geraint Thomas. As we know, he's going into the Giro to try and win it, so maybe still with things to do, still with, you know, the sharpening of the knife, let's say, just before the Giro, and he's putting in that work now, riding on the front, trying to tee up Theo Gegenhardt by the looks of it, who's had a flying start to the season.
Good in Valencia, wasn't he, earlier on in the year?
Very good.
I was about to talk about that when we saw Laurens de Plus on the front, because he was the man who helped set up that wonderful sprint finish that was won at the top of the mountain by Gegenhardt, which was his first win in a while. That's the sort of feeling that Jack Haig wants back here.
26 seconds. Gap's growing.
It's increasing, yeah. He's looking good. The fleet of motorbikes comes back to show him the gap. Jack Haig is riding like the wind here. Geraint Thomas is the man trying to chase behind. No indent being made yet. They're the 2 riders from Agile d'Azur. Fortunato's still there. Max Poole. I mean, we saw Oscar Onley at the start of the year, didn't we? Another big talent on show for DSM, who are developing riders brilliantly. Matt Winston will be purring in the car looking at this performance.
Sorry, I'm trying not to laugh.
You're not trying not to think Matt purring back in the car?
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of Matt sort of meow in the car. No. But he has done a great ride. I mean, we didn't really know what to expect from him coming into this race, but I'll hold my hands up there. I didn't expect Max Poole to be in this group, so it's fantastic to see that he is right up there with the very best on a day like today with the climbs like they've been so far. Not the longest climbs, but they've tackled them very, very quickly, and you can tell that by the size of the group that pulls in that chasing one there with Geraint Thomas on the front.
We were wondering what Cepeda was. It wasn't just a handful of seconds, was it? It's 20 seconds here. It's about to be the 26 back to this group because he looks like he's on his way to being caught.
.8 k's to go. Let's not forget, Rob, we have that steeper section as they go through the kilometre to go, 600 metres at 11%.
Gone down to 23 seconds now. 600 metres at very high gradients, as you were just saying, comes in that final kilometre or so. It's fairly steady until then, isn't it? But the gap's now coming down. 19 seconds. Haig will be buoyed by this performance. I think whatever happens here, it's a good sign, isn't it, going to the Giro?
It's a good sign, it's a good ride, and it's, I'm sure, as he's probably come away from a training camp, wanted to test himself, see how he's going. He's obviously feeling good and wants to, you know, go in with a bang into the Giro, and he's definitely putting in a good performance here. Racing can be so much about confidence, and Jack Haig, I'm sure, as you said, Rob, he'll take confidence away from his attack today, albeit what the result will be.
Seconds now. It's coming back in favour of this. We can't call it a peloton, but the final selection of elite riders who are going to contest the finale if Jack Haig is to be caught. Led by Geraint Thomas, former winner of the Tour de France amongst many things. Third wheel, former winner of the Giro d'Italia. Theo Gegenhardt is there. This is Jack Haig, who's looking for his first win in 3 years. He's a very talented rider. A hard worker, a good bike rider, but a man who's had awful luck with crashes and injuries in the last couple of years in particular. He's got a strong team around him as he heads to the Giro. He's got a good teammate here as well, and don't count out Buitrago, stage winner at the Giro from a breakaway last year. Lassov is strong, we know that. Hugh Carthy still remains there for EF Education Easy Post. Sosa just behind him, Max Poole. Two other riders from Azure Desert, including Felix Gal. There's Fortunato. Great ride as well from Mikel Vizcarra. He's got a decent kick and a finish on him as Vizcarra.
These gradients are going to start to hurt Jack Haig now into the final 2.5 k. Still holding at 15 seconds. It's just mano a mano at the minute with Geraint Thomas chasing Jack Haig. The difference is Geraint Thomas will get overtaken by an eventual attack. He's not going to be competing to go for the win today. He won't want to lose time, but he's not going to be sprinting for that finish with the work that he's doing now, whereas Jack Haig needs to hold on. He's got lucky number 13 on his back for some. Let's hope it is today for him.
15 seconds. It's not budging at the minute.
He looks to be comfortable, as comfortable as he can be. You know, his shoulders start to rock a little bit, but he looks solid on the bike, and that gap that Geraint Thomas has brought down from 28 seconds, 26 seconds down to 15, he's holding him at it in the minute. It's just what the people can do within this peloton. I can imagine on those steeper sections, that's when we'll start to see the attack, Rob. As we get through the kilometre to go banner, we all know on steeper sections, the distance on the road is a lot smaller than what it is on a shallower section. So to jump across to something, launch an attack on those steeper sections, if you've got the legs, you can benefit from that a lot more if it was on a shallower section, let's say.
Some big Australian names have won at this race in the last decade. Cadell Evans, Richie Port, Rowan Dennis, Ben O'Connor, all stage winners. Jack Haig looking to add his name into that mix. Talent, he knows he belongs there. We've seen him ride at this level before. Let's see if he can pull this off. Podium finisher in a Grand Tour, let's not forget. And he's looking very close, if not fully back to his best. He's holding off a great group here, being led by a former Tour de France winner. 15 seconds as we go into the final 2Ks. No. And we still get to the steeper part here, Adam, as well, so a lot can depend on what happens there. And we've seen that he didn't really like the really steep stuff last time, did he, when he was up against the explosive Cepeda? But he showed he rode with intelligence. Again, looked at those numbers, didn't go into the red.
Let's not forget, Rob, Cepeda's still in that group on the back. He'll put her effort in, but you won't get much recovery on this gradient. It's very hard in that front group. 11 seconds now, but Cepeda, if he could do what he did again on that steeper section, people need to be wary of it.
Maybe there are other candidates in this group to do something similar as well, explosive riders. Ivan Sosa's in there as well, isn't he? Approaching the final kilometre now, and it's about to get very steep, very sharp. Pretty horrible for the final few hundred metres. We're into Alpbach, and it's the final 1,000 metres, the last kilometre of the opening stage of the Tour of the Alps. Jack Haig's out in front. He has 10 seconds. He did have 25, and look at that, the left turn, and it's like hitting a wall into double-digit gradient straight away, as Geraint Thomas's job is done for the day. Let's see how it goes now. Sivakov takes over, Gegenhardt waits. The gap's now to 9 seconds. Adam Blythe, is he going to hang on?
I don't think so. I don't think so. Jack Haig's put in a big effort, but these last parts of this climb here, the steepest part they're on now, this slowly drops off with 400 metres to go, but attacks are being made from in the peloton now.
And it's Hugh Carthy. Hugh Carthy at the front, Cepeda hanging on at the back. Vizcarra's there. You can see that Sosa's trying to move up. One of the riders from Azure Desert's being dropped at Scal, who's following. And look at this from Hugh Carthy. Buitrago tries to follow, but he can't do it. And Hugh Carthy is flying here. The man from Preston with all the power swings that bike. It's the familiar look on his face. The power is there. Carthy looking classy on his own way to the Giro.
He's looking very good at the minute. I mean, you've got Theo Gegenhardt in the background, just slowly edging up to the AG2R rider who has not cut out the saddle yet, solid as a rock. Hugh Carthy, mouth wide open, gasping for air, in a little bit of a bigger gear, trying to roll it over. Let's not forget 400 metres, Robin, it flattens off ever so slightly. This is the hardest part they're on now.
Mr. Angliru, not forget. The man who loves the steep gradients. He's conquered them before, and he has a few metres on those chasing him. Hugh Carthy trying to hang on, 600 metres still to the line. Gall is in the chase. Just behind that, you can see that Gegenhardt is there. Sosa's following as well.
He's almost going again, Harthy. He keeps getting out of the saddle, getting the power out as much as he can. Sit down, try and just let the legs recover while staying on it. Get back going again. Sosa's coming back into it. Sivakov not far behind that. But Theo Gegenhardt just trying to ride his own tempo before he launches a sprint by the looks of things.
Getting towards the end of the steep stuff, just before they get to the finish line. He's still got that gap, but does he have the momentum? There's a pause behind as they look around at each other, and this is where Carthy really has to go for it. But behind you can see that Gegenhardt is launched. Theo Gegenhardt is looking for his moment as well. We've seen him retaste victory, haven't we, early on in the season in Valencia, and it might be a British battle at the top of the mountain here in the Alps. Couple of 100 metres to go now. 300 in fact, and Carthy's in a world of pain. He's just trying to hold on. This is Theo Gegenhardt looking good. He has Carthy in his sights as they go left, and the finish line now comes into sight. It's Hugh Carthy in the pink. Just behind him, ready to come round, though, is Theo Gegenhardt. There is Gegenhardt, who will break Carthy's heart, and Theo Gegenhardt is going to ride away to victory again. Straight from the training camp in Spain to victory in Austria. From one mountain range to another. And Theo Gegenhardt, on the way back to the Grand Tour that he won 3 years ago, is in the shop window again. Gegenhardt wins the opening stage, takes the lead of the Tour of the Alps, and is looking in fine form on the way to his Grand Tour.
My main dream are the 3 Grand Tours. But I know that's a hard way and a long way. But yeah, I'm still young and I have a long way to go. So we're going to work hard and then hopefully I can win one of the 3 Grand Tours.
Hi there, my dear cycling fans. Let's get started on our long journey at the very heart of cycling. This exciting world will definitely win the hearts of both true fans and the newbies. Subscribe to our channel, like and turn on the notification bell not to miss anything. In January 1990, Peter Sagan was born, the most popular racer of the last decade. Exactly 10 years later, in January 2000, another racer who could take the place of Sagan was born. Remco Evenepoel is not just one more talented junior, but the one who can become the main cycling star for many years to come. Money. What does any sport need? Money. What does it take to attract sponsors with money? Fans' attention. You must admit that few people would like to invest in a sport that is not popular with the public. In the US, cycling is obviously not ahead of the curves. It is not just inferior to the most hyped disciplines as football, MMA, basketball, and baseball, but also loses to many other sports. In some countries, the situation is a bit different. Belgium, France, Italy, Great Britain, and the Netherlands adore cycling. Very often, it hits the headlines of papers and sports, internet portals there. In a global sense, cycling is somewhere in the middle, lagging behind the leaders, but rather confidently surpassing the outsiders. Nevertheless, there are more than enough sponsors for 19 teams of the World Tour with budgets of 10 million euros. And there are also quite a lot of racers with a salary of more than 1 million euros. What else could attract additional attention to cycling? Vivid racers who show their worth not only at a distance, but beyond it as well. What cycling stars look like. Primož Roglič, Chris Froome, Wout van Aert, Alejandro Valverde, and many others are the stars of the peloton. Their racing characteristics differ, but they behave almost in the same way both at the distance and after the finish, when they undertake interviews. They are all calm guys who praise their teammates and speak respectfully about their opponents. Yes, that is proper, but very boring. One could get the feeling that the racers, like programmed robots, say and do the same things. It is hard to blame them for this. The point is that many of them cannot express their thoughts more openly due to the fact that the teams have sponsors who do not need negative press because of their freaks. Exactly for this reason, we get cookie-cutter interviews, cautious statements, and boredom. Public always wants to get something hot, to discuss a scandal or sensation. This is part of being human. The public affairs offices of the teams and the racers themselves are trying not to stand out. As a result, in recent years, cycling has lacked bright characters. Why Remco is more interesting than others.
Yeah, it was my main goal this week, and I got the 2 races I wanted to win, so what a season.
At the turn of the century, Lance Armstrong was very popular. He was the perfect star for cycling, an American with a beautiful life story, who wins a lot and always has a ready tongue, tough and straightforward. After a while, Peter Sagan took the place of Armstrong. He did not reach the level of popularity and stardom of a famous American because of 2 reasons. First, he did not win the overall classification of the Tour de France. And second, he represented a small country with a small population that was not really into cycling. Now the place of the most popular and attractive racer for sponsors is vacant. Sagan is still performing, but it looks like his crowning glory has already passed. Some young talents can take Peter's place. The main candidates are Mathieu van der Poel, Wout van Aert, Egan Bernal, Tadej Pogačar, Mark Hirschi, and Remco Evenepoel. Almost all of them race in a bright and aggressive manner. They often win, but only Evenepoel has everything to become the main cycling star. The young Belgian evokes different emotions. Some love him, and some can't even stand him. The ambiguous attitude is caused by his behavior and comments on press. He makes loud statements and has an explosive character that strikingly differs from Pogačar, Bernal, and others. Of course, Evenepoel is still far from Armstrong, both in charisma and in titles, if not taking into account his disqualification. Note, the Belgian has great potential in this regard, and Belgium itself is of course not the United States, but a much more attractive country for cycling than Sagan's Slovakia. Do you know what Remco did when he became more or less popular in his 19? Immediately, he started an online store with his own clothing brand. This also characterizes him as a future star. Plus, the sales profit goes for charity needs. The media has been paying closer attention to him. His personal life is being widely discussed, and scandals are inflating around him almost out of the blue. For example, in August and September on the internet, they were vigorously discussing what was the thing the sports director David Bramati quickly pulled out of his pocket after the fall on Il Lombardia. The UCI even intervened in the case and carried out an investigation on hot scents. All in all, the suspicions were not verified, but Evenepoel has endured a great deal on social media. Comparisons with Sagan. The current Remco resembles the young Sagan from 2011 to 2013. At the time, Peter appeared in public in t-shirts with ambiguous inscriptions, got into a scandal because of his inappropriate behavior on the podium Tour de Flandres, and infuriated many honored racers. In 2012, Sagan first came to the Tour de France in the end. In 2012, Sagan first came to the Tour de France. In the end, he won 3 stages in a green jersey. He made whoopee while celebrating his victory at the finish line, and that greatly annoyed Fabian Cancellara. A similar episode has already occurred in the career of the 20-year-old Belgian. At the end of July 2020, he won the mountain stage of the Volta a Burgos and seemed to shake something off his shoulders at the finish line. In a cycling world where everyone seems to be so right, this gesture has received confused reactions. This can even be interpreted as disrespect for the rivals. By the way, Evenepoel has already found himself in a delicate situation, a bit similar to the racer Bora Hansgrohe on the 2013 Tour de Flandres. It was in Argentina at the Volta a San Juan. But there, he was rather framed as Nick's quick-stepped teammate Ilio Kaisi. The parallels between the young Slovak and the Belgian are self-evident, even despite the complete different racing specialization. Over the years, Peter settled down and began to behave much more balanced, whereas Remco has all that ahead. Future. It is Remco Evenepoel who should become the main face of cycling. There are many prerequisites for this. He is active on social networks, harsh in his statements, bright at a distance, and super talented. Is he fit for the role? Yes, he is. Of course, like all of us, he's not perfect, but the public never needed the right heroes. Cycling is not Gotham City, but it also needs a controversial hero to rescue everyone from boredom. Evenepoel may not become Batman, but he is pretty good for the role of a new cycling hero. To sum it up, the new leader will benefit the entire industry, which obviously lacks bright personalities that could cause a storm of emotions in the public minds.